Dear friends, Madame le Président, or should I say Madame la Présidente, chers amigos, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to come here on a Saturday. It's really, this was a sacrifice. Thank you, and happy International Women's Day. May we all live to see the day when we don't need an International Women's Day. I mean, after all, we don't have an International Men's Day, so why should we have an International Women's Day? Well, but we're not there yet. We've come a long way, as it used to say on the Virginia Slim cigarettes. We've come a long way, baby, but we're not. We're definitely not there, but we've made a lot of progress, and you, women of Iceland, have been in the forefront of this progress. Thank you so much for inviting me to Iceland. Really, thank you. Iceland has been one of the dream spots for me for years. You may ask, why haven't I come before? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe it was meant to be that the first time in Iceland would be with you. And I'm absolutely delighted. Thank you very much. This is indeed a magical country. I've known, having met a lot of Icelandic people before, there's something special about you. Something very special. But then as soon as you land in this country, you feel, the propaganda in the airline is unique Iceland. But when you land, you really do feel it's very unique, very different. And I haven't had a chance to appreciate the beautiful nature that God has given you, or universe has given you. But I will tomorrow, weather willing. I hope to see a little bit. If not, in any case, I will be back. This is the very first time, but absolutely not the last. Now, I am digressing, as I usually do, but because I never look at what I've written. Arnie, my colleague, knowing that I am not a speech maker, not very good at it, honestly. I don't like making speeches, much to the chagrin of my colleagues and the usual bureaucratic scene of the UN. I just don't like it. I'm a reporter. I'd rather listen to people and ask questions. So I'm not going to make a speech. We brought some documents and statistics, everything you need, all the messages for International Women's Day. Our Secretary General's message, the head of UN Women's message, and Navi Pillay, the High Commissioner of Human Rights. So you have everything you need. I'll just go on and say what comes naturally. Yeah, as I was saying, Arnie had conscientiously prepared a file for me with some relevant statistics, some things I should be saying. And to be very honest, I didn't even open it until last night at 11 o'clock. And on the top of the pile, there was an article. And when I read it, honestly, I had tears in my eyes. I wrote this email to Arnie, he must have thought, all these women. And the article was about 24th October 1975. I don't have to tell you, as I repeated, my heart is beating faster. The day that you, Icelandic women, brought this country to a standstill. You asked, will I, shall I, dare I? You did. You came out and forced 25,000. I don't know if that's the figure, but this is an amazing number of women from all ages, from all walks of life. You just came out and you showed that you can bring life to a standstill. There was no violence, it was just speech making, a lot of coffee drinking. The article was saying a lot of smoking, a lot of coffee drinking, a lot of talking. No violence, no need for violence. So that was a very, very emotional article for me to read. This is like, me telling you about 24th of October 1975 is like taking coal to Newcastle, which is, a stupid thing to do. But I just couldn't help it. It was really, I was really inspired. And of course, that was the movement that opened the way for Vigdis to become the first democratically elected female president. I mean, really, it's such an honor and a pleasure to have met you, Madame la Présidente. Really, in every way, in every way. And I met you yesterday before having read this article, and now it's even more emotional to see you and to see all of you. It was, you became feminists overnight. Generations of you. So, okay, I'm digressing again. Let me go to see what Arnie told me. Maybe actually, he is the least bureaucratic person that I know. So, I keep pointing to him, but it's because he's one of the only men in this room, so we're allowed to make a little fun. Okay. So let me just remind you that, I was saying to Arnie, how come we never do anything for UN Day, which is, everybody celebrates UN Day, which is on 24th of October. And he said, in Iceland, 24th of October is Women's Day, in fact. It's not UN's Day. For us, it's Women's Day, and I didn't know what he was going on about until I read this article, of course. But let me take you back to 24th of October 1945. That was when the UN was established. The first day that the UN came into being. And thank God it did. I always say, this is between us, I always say that the UN is a good idea whose time will come. Its time hasn't come because we're not united. We are nations, we're not united. But as I was telling one of your colleagues yesterday, what I learned about the UN is that it should be seen as a cathedral. And cathedrals are built in generations. They're not built. UN is going to be 70. 70 is nothing. It's nothing. A mere drop. So generation. So we are building a generation. A cathedral, I mean. And, each of us, each of you, who are obviously engaged women, we are all bricklayers building this cathedral. It could take 800 years for cathedrals to be built, but then they're there forever. So that's how I see the UN, and that's how I put up with all the, bureaucracy. But going back to 1945, what really, for me, has sparked that flame in my belly about the UN are the first 3 words of the UN Charter. And they are, we the peoples. We the peoples. It doesn't say we the governments. It says we the peoples. It is de facto, I'm not denying that, an organization of governments. But the founding fathers had we the peoples in mind. And the UN will fulfill its ideals, its mandate, when people look at it as their own organization. This is what I urge everyone to do. The UN is not just a Security Council with 5 men at this point, sitting, as permanent members and deciding to do or not to do. The UN is what's being done in the field. The UN is what you're doing here in Iceland. The UN is what we do every single day. So just look at the UN this way, and I think you'll have a different vision of it. And, you really can't blame the UN for what's not going well in the political world, in Syria, in the Ukraine, honestly. Simply because, it's just powerless. How many times am I going to digress? Okay, now, just the theme. I'm going to be very quick, actually. The theme of this year is equality for women is progress for all. And in his speech, Secretary General, not in his speech, in his message for Women's Day, he says, Countries with more gender equality have better economic growth. Companies with more leaders where women leaders perform better. Peace agreements that include women are more durable. Parliaments with more women enact more legislations on key social issues such as health, education, anti-discrimination, and child support. The evidence, he says, is clear. Equality for women means progress for all. Now, one thing that we do have to touch upon is that as you're eating, maybe not at the appropriate time, but we can't talk about women without, unfortunately, saying that one scourge that's just so democratic in a way is the violence against women. And there's no difference where you live. This is another statistics, a sad one, that it doesn't matter how rich you are, how educated you are, where you live, how blonde you are, how dark you are. Violence is just equal. It's terrible. 1 out of 3 women are somehow in their lives have suffered or will suffer, unfortunately, some form of violence. And I think the only way that we can seek to at least address this openly is to encourage women to talk. The more they speak about it, the more empowered they will be. But I'm going to end there and let the words of people from around the world be the message that we are trying to pass on. This is I'm going to show you a clip from a monumental work by a French photographer. His name is Yann-Arthus Bertrand. He's best known for having photographed the Earth from the sky. It's called The Earth Seen from the Sky. His next project was called 7 Billion Others. We worked a lot with that. 7 billion others, as its name indicates, it's about the 7 billion people on Earth. And he has sent out 25 film crews to 84 countries and has asked the same 50 questions of people. And this is about women. You'll see, it's not always politically correct, what some women say. But we're open-minded, so we'll listen to what each of us, each woman has to say about it.
Matsapa mamtongany satria miaraka miady amin'ny fiainana miara-mitady.
I think men and women are very similar because there are so many different men and there are so many different women. I never look at women as being all feminine, all and I never look at men as being all masculine. I think there are masculine and feminine qualities on both sides. I suppose the main difference between men and women are the social expectations that are put on women and the social expectations that are put on men.
Voilà, short and sweet. Thank you.